we're literally using paper clips to hold this frame together that actually holds the plastic down into place. So you take the piece of Kydex, you can put it down here on the frame, lay the top frame onto it. Gotta pick it up a little so it's off from the suction device. And I just go around the whole outer edge, clamping the piece of plastic into place. This vacuum former is a home build that I did. Joe has. No, okay. I'm gonna start heating. Make sure I've switched it to the right direction. Yes, I did. So we're now heating the Kydex. Can I get somebody with a stopwatch to just, or just tell me like 2.5, maybe 2 minutes 30 seconds.
There's probably an app on here, but I'll never be able to find it. You can do it.
What I can do is just. Is there a,
There's a.
well, there we go. Okay, we'll go from there.
You want 2:30?
So we'll let this start heating up, and it's really just a waiting game at this point. And I'll lift this a couple times so you can see the different phases that it goes through. So the first phase is it starts. It's not even getting. It takes a few moments. You'll see it. The first stage is it sags, and it's pretty rubbery, but not rubbery enough. And then as it starts getting really rubbery and soft, it starts pulling back up, and the wrinkles start coming out of it. And at that point is you can touch it and you can see it's just like it's just like skin at that point.
There's a lot of engineering.
So one trick that I do, I'll only do this if I have some change today. Yes, I do. For some reason, it works a little nicer if you can stand the piece off it a little bit from this. This is called the platen, and the platen is what causes the vacuum to happen. So we direct this tube into a little chamber that I've created. It's a hole that goes up through, and I've created a little chamber between this plywood and this piece of aluminum that I've pounded down. That's about that thick, maybe a 1/4 inch thick, and this just has a bunch of holes drilled into it. So I took some caulking, ran it around the edge, silicone caulking, and then set this metal piece down on top of it. Once it cured, you now have a 1/4 inch film all the way across here that becomes the vacuum space. And as soon as I release that valve, it starts pulling down through all these holes, pulling down from these holes that you see in this piece here, and it just sucks the plastic right down onto it. It's really.
You're at 2 minutes.
Okay.
Ask a
Okay,
question.
yes.
So the pump creates a vacuum in the tank.
Yep.
And then when you activate the switch, the vacuum from the tank.
Pulls everything this way into the tank. And what I'm actually going to do is right before I start this process, I'm going to start the pump back up, because there are some leaks around here. You can't get a perfect seal with plastic.
2.5.
So, pardon me?
You're 2:30.
Okay. So basically, you get air leaks, so you have to then start pulling constant pressure. So I turn the compressor back on, which I'm going to do right now. Don't mind that smoke. That's just oil kind of flowing off. It'll get a little sticky.
No attention to the flames.
So I think we're about at it. This doesn't have to be a perfect pull. It's a demonstrator. So I think we're probably close to it. I'm going to give it another 10 seconds, and then we'll start the pull. So what I do is I get this in my hands, and this will really amaze you. It just cracks me up how quick it happens. It's just instant. It's not quite there yet, but the wrinkles are starting to come out of it. It's very close.
Stephen, are you, is the temperature
here and there like 250.
Well, who knows? I've never checked. Have you ever done it? Yeah.
No. Art,
It's
not
all,
science.
it's all by sight.
Right?
Yeah.
Art, not science.
Yeah, yeah. We don't do science. That's another department.
This is the music department after all.
Yeah. Okay, this is probably close enough.
You're smoking. Oh yeah.
And it stays hot for a while. It's gonna get a little stinky from the oil, but oh, this came out nice. This came out to, you know what? This isn't a nice. This is actually a pretty nice looking.
It almost looks like ABS.
Yeah, no,
Is it-
no, it's kind of. It's kind of. eBay. I don't know. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, so what I do is I shift all my work this way. I never center it because this thing doesn't heat it. And like you can see it's got a hot spot here. It's glowing real red there, and it's kind of, so I know to just shift all my work that way when I'm doing things. I'm going to turn this off so we don't start gagging here. And it should be enough to, this stays really hot for quite some time. But it really is that simple. It's when you have the right equipment, it's just amazing what you can do. You can do communicators, tricorders. In fact, I just lifted
You
it
hear
up.
the difference?
You heard the vacuum
You
grate.
can see broke his seal.
Exactly. Here's a tricorder lid that we've done. I've got another one here. This is some of Joe's work. If you'd like to get up, Joe, and talk about the horrific nature of making a tricorder lid.
It's like right here, but the corners, the plastic would fold up. And
Whenever you do a deep pull, the deeper you make it, the more chance of this webbing to occur.
and essentially you need a lot of this material, so the webs would go up into the actual the piece I needed. So I kept asking experts. I had no idea. I made this taller. I didn't know what to do. So someone gave me the idea, but I had this in the center here, and I took pieces of plywood, and I made them just like a box or a flat piece of plywood with a hole in it that was just a little bit bigger than this around the plastic, and I put a handle on it, and I lined it with wax paper, and it's basically a plug assist. I heat the, you gotta get rid, you don't want that in the piece. And if you look inside some of the pieces, like if the red ones, if those colored ones are still going around, you can look inside and you'll see the line.
Well, actually, that's a break. Those will probably go off too. So one characteristic that they have, these lids have is, I don't know if you can see it from here, it's a very sharp slope on three sides, but the back edge is kind of like a 30% slope that's a little bit longer. So this is, again, one of those times where I wish I had my cheaters, but anybody got a set of cheaters that I could borrow for? Thank you. I come so prepared. I was doing tours literally an hour ago, and I looked at my watch and said, oh, damn, I gotta get over there. Thank you so much.
Sure.
Audience participation. So what I do is I find the squarest looking corners on this piece of wood that I have. And the key to 3 of the 4 sides is you go 1 perforation in and a half. And that's where you want the bend to be created. And the back longer piece is actually 2.5 perforations in. So you count 2 rows in and then a half. And that's where that bend goes. So once I get all of these bends roughed in, but you can see this is the flaring I'm talking about. Once you get into a corner, it just doesn't want to sit down correctly. It kind of flares out. It just, you end up with this. But let me get this taken care of the rest of the way.
You just file that.
File it off, and as soon as you get rid of that tipping material, it's not a problem anymore, and it allows you to make the corner. One of the neat things, and I absolutely understand why Wah Chang made these out of brass, is brass is just so easy to work with. It's so bendy, it's so pliable, and it does it does look cool at the end. So I'm just gonna put a little more of a accentuated bend on it so I can see where the flare is happening. That's James saying, "Where the hell are you? I need you to do this." No, no. So the other effect that you get while doing this is the whole piece starts taking a total curve. We fix that later. Typically what I do is I have a grinder at home, so it's a much quicker process, but I'm gonna do it with this file. Try not to make a total mess of the spool. And it should go pretty nicely around the corners. Am I coming on to another hour here?
You got about 20 minutes.
Oh, okay, good.
A little more.
I just don't wanna be the guy that slows the works down. Who is the next talk here?
Lee.
Oh, excellent.
Oh, but Lee's at the end of the day. I may go down. I may go down and see what Roy's doing. 1999.
I was thinking about going to that. What time is that?
Right now. I mean, after this. But I may stay and clean up, so.
So I've got it a little bit closer. So now what we have is these little tips that are still up. And typically what I do is at this point I start flattening the piece out with my hand. And the next piece, the next process, which I didn't bring, is just a piece of sandpaper that you just run it to get these edges off and to make the whole thing flat. So what I'm gonna do is just, there's a whole lot of, you can see patterns in this thing. There's a whole lot of work that needs to still be done to this, but you can see it's getting very close to being a finished. I'll pass that around.